In section 10.2, we're going to focus in on a special kind of sequence and series called an arithmetic sequence. An arithmetic sequence is a sequence that increases or decreases at a constant rate. We also know these as being linear functions. When we talk about the sequence, we're looking at a constant rate. That constant rate within our slope of our linear function is also called the common difference of an arithmetic sequence. The explicit formula is given by a sub n equals the first term plus the number of terms minus 1 times that common difference, where d is the common difference, a sub 1 is our first term, and n is the term that we're looking for. Recursively, we know that a sub 1 is going to equal the previous term plus that common difference, where we have to give you an a sub 1 equals something, or our first term, and we know that n is going to be greater than or equal to 2 as we look at it. So in example 1, we're going to give you a sequence, 3, 16, 29, so on and so forth, and we're going to find the explicit and the recursive formula. Well, in this case, we see that we can add 13 to both of our terms to get to the next term. So 3 plus 13 gives us 16, 16 plus 13 gives us 29. Explicitly, we know the first term, our first term is 3. We also know that n minus 1 is always going to be n minus 1, because we take the number of terms minus our 1, times the common difference. The common difference in this case is 13. We can simplify this if we want. So we have 3 plus 13n minus 13. Add your 3 and your negative 13, and we know that a sub n is going to equal 13n minus 10. And that's going to look very similar to our linear function. Recursively, so this is our explicit up here, recursively, we know, again, we're going to take a sub n to equal the previous term. And what did we do that previous term to get to the next term? We added 13, where our first term, in this case, was 3, and n is greater than or equal to 2. In example 2, we're going to get a little more difficult. We're going to give you some information about a sequence, and we're going to be able to find another piece of that sequence. So we're going to give you a sub 10, or the 10th term, to be 75, and a common difference to be 15. Can we find a of 15? Well, to start, we can try to come up with our explicit formula. We know that a sub n is going to equal our first term, a sub 1, plus n minus 1 times a common difference. In this case, we know is 5. Well, we know a sub 10. A sub 10 is going to equal a sub 1 plus n, in this case is 10 minus 1 times 5. A sub 10, 75, equals a sub 1 plus 10 minus 1 gives us 9 times 5. 75 then is going to equal a sub 1 plus 45, or 30 equals a sub 1. Now that we know a sub 1, we can write our explicit formula, a sub n equals 30 plus n minus 1 times that common difference of 5. Now we can find a of 15. A of 15 is going to equal 30 plus 15 minus 1 times 5. Working out that math, we have 30 plus 14 times 5. 14 times 5 gives us 70. So we have 30 plus 70, or 100. So our 15th term is 100. We can do this for various types of problems, such as given the nth term being something, the first term being something, and the common difference being something. Plug in what you know, figure out what you need, get back to the original function, and then be able to come up with your answer. Another thing that we're going to talk about is arithmetic means. Arithmetic means is going to give you kind of the bookends of a sequence or a series. So if we know the first term and we know the last term and we know how many terms are in between, we can figure out, if it's an arithmetic sequence, all the terms that are missing. So in this case, we give you a sequence with 4 arithmetic means between 5 and 20. Well, what does that mean? That means our first term is 5 and our last term is going to be 20. And we know that there's going to be 4 numbers in between. And you can do this several different ways, one being guess and check. And if you can guess pretty well, that's not a problem. A surefire way of looking at doing it is count the number of spaces that you have in between. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms, or 5 spaces. So we're going to take those 5 spaces, we want to evenly distribute between. Well, what are we distributing between? We know we had to get from 5 all the way to 20. So if I take 20 minus 5 and divide by the number of spaces I have, I end up with 15 divided by 5, or 3. So I know that to get from 5 to 20 in 4 spaces in between, I have to add 3 each time. So 5 plus 3 gives us 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. 11 plus 3 is 14. 14 plus 3 is 17. And then we get to 20. And that gives us an arithmetic mean of 4 between the numbers of 5 and 20.